Alright, so I'm back with yet another Pauper deck tech. So I was looking at a bunch of rack decks in various formats, and I really wanted to make a Pauper version of a rack deck. Just a deck that attacks the opponent's hand with just discard effect after discard effect, and then tries to win the game from there. So in Pauper we lack sort of a payoff, such as the rack or Shrieking Affliction, for our opponent having very few cards in their hand. So in this deck, basically, we are using the shell of a rack deck, just tons of discard effects, and then as our way of essentially chipping through with damage to our opponent's face, is we are running 4 copies of Doughty Horror and 4 copies of Doughty Slayer. So these are creatures with shadow, meaning they can block or be blocked only by creatures with shadow. So these essentially just keep pinging through. They're generally unblockable. Sure, our opponents can kill them, but not if their hand has been annihilated by our discard effects. So speaking of that, I will jump into our discard effects. We are running 4 copies of Funeral Charm, which can also be used to make our creatures unblockable in a pinch or as removal. Then we are running Raven's Crime, 1 black for a sorcery. Target player discards a card, and it has Retrace, so you may cast it from your graveyard by discarding a land in addition to paying its other costs, meaning this is basically just repeatable discard. Then we also have 4 copies of Wrenchmind, the Poor Man's Hymn to Turak, 2 black for a sorcery. It says target player discards 2 cards unless he or she discards an artifact. Then for some card draw, we of course have the classic Sign in Blood. For more creature-based discard, we have the classic Ravenous Rats, 2 for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card. Then similarly, we have the All-Star from the old classic mono-black control lists. It's Chittering Rats, 3 for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent puts a card from their hand on top of their library. Then we also have 3 copies at the moment. Oh, actually, am I running 4 copies? No, I think 3. Of Tendrils of Despair, 1 black for a sorcery. It says, as an additional cost to cast it, sacrifice a creature, target opponent discards 2 cards. So that's decent with our rats and our shadow creatures. Then we have 2 copies of Undying Evil and 4 copies of Unearth as ways of bringing our ETB creatures back from the graveyard, or returning a shadow creature if our opponent removes it, or returning a creature that we've sacked with Tendrils of Despair. So Undying Evil gives the creature Undying, and then Unearth can return a creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it also has cycling. So I've actually found this deck to be pretty good so far from my testing with it. It's a pretty cool or a pretty powerful discard shell that really does annihilate the opponent's hand, and then just tries to chip through with consistent shadow damage. So if you have ideas for cards I should try, or versions of Pauper discard decks that you've been playing, please let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.